So, haven't done a little call recording analysis in a while, call review. But this is going to be a very short one, 15, 20 minutes, if that, probably less, breaking down how I overcome someone wanting to delay it for a few months. And yeah, that's pretty much going to be the call. And also showing you how I turn a payment plan into a PIF. Okay, now enough talking, let's just get straight into it. And in terms of the investment itself, to get you mentioned 25K, 30K a month comfortable, 200 over 300K, 350K a year. It's just
Right.
12K and it's a one-time fee.
Okay.
Yeah,
12,000 one time.
exactly.
And is that all payable at one time, or do you have any kind of payment options on over time?
Sure. I mean, most of our clients pay it up front, to be honest. If they
Okay.
have capital, most of them just pay it up front. Now, first of all, when you get that question, is there a payment plan? How do people pay it? I always say it's usually, now the verbiage is very, very important, right? Most of our clients usually pay it up front. And that's all I'll say. I'm not going to say, yeah, for some people this, for some people that. That's what I'll say, right? Because for this guy in the discovery, we were talking about how he has 300K in this account, 400K in that account, basically going over how basically he has money, right? And I said as well, I don't know if you caught it, I said if they have the capital, they just pay it up front. Meaning if they have the full 12K, they just pay it up front. Because a lot of times, you know, you miss a piff, right? And then you just have to go take it on a payment plan, which means less cash collected, which means a higher likelihood that you don't get paid the full amount, right? So that's the first thing. When they say payable up front or in payment plans, I say it's usually done up front. Unless if they say okay and they have more resistance, then of course I'll do the whole, you know, money logistics thing, go over the situation and break it down, right? But only if it's going to be a massive issue. If not, it's all up front. That's how it's usually done.
It's pretty reasonable.
Cool. Ready to rock and roll? I know I'm going to pause it a lot, but he didn't give an objection or any pushback. He just said, yeah, sounds reasonable. Now, in the beginning, a lot of people wait for the prospect to say, all right, fuck it, take my credit card, let's go. Right? But you need to guide the person. You need to ask for the sale. Right? Now instead of saying, I mean you can say where do you want to go from here? Of course, there are loads of ways that you can do it. One way that I like to do it that's sort of fun and isn't, give me your credit card, what are your credit card details, is I say ready to rock and roll. Because it's fun, it's lighthearted, and it implies taking the next step, which basically means taking payment. But the reason I said that in this particular instance was because he didn't give any pushback. So I was like, cool, ready to rock and roll. And then this is where he gives the pushback.
I'd like to close my deal before I do that, but or one of these, actually.
Okay. So where do you want to go from here? In terms of the next steps, when you're ready, we'll process the investment. And
Yep.
then as soon as we get that sorted, I will send over a few times for your onboarding call.
Okay.
And then on the onboarding call, they'll essentially break down the next steps as to how to get access to everything, breaking down everything. So it's very, very simple.
Okay.
Cool. Does that sound good?
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
Cool. Ready to get started, or where do you want to go from here? Also, the reason why I said again, like, do you want to get started or where do you want to go from here? Because he didn't explicitly say, like, he didn't give any pushback per se. He said, yeah, everything sounds good. So again, I asked for the sale again, just because they're more likely to say yes. Where as like you saw here, where do you want to go from here? That's where usually the objection comes out. When you ask for the sale, that's when the real concern comes up, as you can see.
I'd like to process this through my business account, and I really need to, yeah, I really need to close a deal or two here to do that.
Sure.
So, um, is there any issue with waiting? I mean, I don't want to. You've not been high pressure or anything like that, or like if you don't
Sure.
do this today, it's no longer valid. But I did
Sure.
want to confirm that, you know. this would still be the deal, if I come back in a few
You
weeks.
can do this in a week, a month, a year. There's no pressure in terms of it's going to run out if you don't do this now. Of course not,
Right,
right? But just so I can understand better, you mentioned that you're waiting to close a deal before essentially you do this, right?
right.
Cool. What's the main reason behind that? Just to see if I can help. Simple question, because I don't want to assume. Obviously he wants to close the deal to pay for it. I understand that, but behind it, that there may be something else. And it's just a way to continue the conversation, to get to the real reason, the real thing that's stopping him.
Just the amount, I don't have the money in my business account. I can transfer in if I need to,
Sure,
but I would feel better if I had some more income to just take it through there
sure.
instead of my regular bank account.
Sure. So from my understanding, it's just wanting to use the business account just to write it off, basically.
Right.
Cool. Completely. Most of our students do that as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have anything in the business account? Just so we can take 50% and then basically do the rest next month or 2 months or whatever it is.
Yeah, I do have some. I'm still, so the other training class that I talked about, that's got monthly payments associated with it. I'll complete those at the end of this year, or actually, I think it's January.
Sure.
So those are also coming out of that account, which is that'll, like I said, that'll finish up in the next 3 or 4 months.
Right. Now this is where I sort of, I guess, not turn up the heat, but this is where I tell him what's what. Now, one thing as well is this is a trading offer. This is an ROI offer, so a return on your investment. Okay, now, as you can see, just to give you a bit of context, this guy has a few deals in the pipeline, and he said they're going to close in the next 2 to 3 months, basically. Right? 2 to 3 months. Keep that in mind. Now, you see how I use that as leverage and how I use basically just it's better that you see what I do instead of me explaining it. Sure. Okay. Okay. I mean, if we get you in today, you can start making the money back, in 2 days,
Right.
right?
That's true.
Yeah. So
Yep.
in terms of transferring, of course, I understand it would make you a lot happier if you already had the cash and you close the deal and then you came, right? But
Yeah.
also if you wait a month until you close it, or even longer until the end of the year, you've missed out on 3 months of profit, that just easy profit that could have been yours.
Right.
So you technically be losing more money by waiting.
Yep. So
I understand that obviously it makes more sense for you to write it off. I completely get that. But even if you just transfer 50%, we could get that process and then you could make that money back, depending on how much capital you start in a month, 2 months, and it's already paid for
yeah,
itself.
let's do the. Can I do 50% and can I do that on a credit card?
Absolutely. Just like that, right? Because it makes logical sense, the opportunity cost, right? Plus, before that, before this part in the pitch, that we have a whole spreadsheet where we go over the percentage gains and the win rate that we've had over the last, month, 2 months, and even the last few years. So one thing that's very powerful is people feel more connected and feel more, yeah, they just feel more towards aspects that they are losing instead of gaining. Because if you lose $1,000 today, losing $1,000 probably feels worse than making $1,000 feels good, right? Now, using that understanding, using that knowledge, I just simply did an opportunity cost. And you can see, even he said it himself, I'm very low pressure, low resistance, I'm very chilled, I'm sipping my water, I'm laid back, right? And I just used logic. Like, look, I mean, obviously. And again, I I showed him that I understood his point of view. Look, it makes absolute sense that you want to wait until you have a deal. Who wouldn't? But you waiting those 2, 3 months, you're missing out on easy profit that could be yours just by getting started today. And you could probably make more money by starting now, right, than you would by technically saving by closing the deal. Right? And it's very, very simple. Okay, now I want you to keep watching because I'm going to show you how I turn this into a 50% to a PIF. Cool. Okay. And you mentioned that you're putting it on a credit card, right?
Correct.
And then you'll just pay it off with the business account eventually, right?
Right.
Cool.
Yep.
I mean, that being said, would it be a big problem if we just process everything and then you know, there's no stress about doing the next payment and stuff like that?
Yeah, we can do that.
Sure. And then boom, that's how it's a PIF, right? One thing that's important that I like using is no base questions by Chris Voss. Right now you need to be careful. You need to make it very subtle because if you're doing it with someone who's in sales, who's in psychology, who's a business owner, it may not work as much. But with these guys, you know, it does, which is getting someone to say the word no, but meaning yes. Because people feel much more comfortable saying no to things. Because no means they're not getting themselves into anything that's risky, right? Whereas when they say yes to something, it's like they're making a commitment to something, right? But what if you could get them to say no, which means yes? So, for example, instead of saying, would you like to process everything? Instead of, so would you like to process everything? So then there's no stress about anything. Now, again, it's a tiny, tiny, tiny difference. In reality, I'm sure it doesn't make a massive difference, but it just makes, for me, it feels like everything's a lot smoother. So instead of saying, would you like to, I say, would it be a big issue? I don't remember the exact words, but would it be a big issue? Would it be a big problem? Would it be a massive problem if we just processed everything? And then, there's no stress about, you know, doing the rest of the payments and things like that. No, okay, cool. Let's go. And look at my tone. If you want to play it again, look at my tone. I don't know how to describe it, but I'm very, very gentle. I'm very soft. I'm very like curious. Like, I mean, would it be a massive problem if we just, did everything? Did everything? Did everything? Right? So then obviously there's no more stress on your end to sort out the rest of the payments. Cool. That's pretty much it. It's a very, very, very simple reframe, but it worked, right? And you can see it's very low pressure. It literally took, I don't know, 2-3 minutes, if that, to get him from delaying into starting something now, right? And the one thing that I wanted to show you is that if you have an ROI offer and someone wants to delay something, you can just try this, or even better, do it in the discovery, right? Or seep it in. It's very, very powerful. And hope you found value. And speak soon.